welcome to the virtual towers of Binary Arcadia, where the games go on long into the night. Today's episode is a bit of a last-minute response because Rich and I recently filmed our E3 predictions, which hopefully will get out in the next couple of weeks. A bit of news has popped up, which we kind of wanted to respond to, and that is, drum roll please, that apparently... Thank you very much, Rich. georgerrmartin, Game of Thrones author, has been consulting with a Japanese games developer, and potentially there's going to be a Game of Thrones open world game. Rich, what do you know? Do you want to fill us in with a bit more detail around?
Well, I'll start this off by saying, just because Martin is working with a games developer, that doesn't mean it'll be a Game of Thrones game. That's the first thing to say, because he doesn't just do Game of Thrones, of course. He does lots of other things. So we do need to tread a little carefully here. I think I saw an interview with him, it might have even been today, and he was saying, I've got like 7 projects on the go right now, and only 2 of them are Game of Thrones related, or, well, he said Westeros related. That's on the back of some talk that he might, or there is a, what's it called? Is it Lost Productions Tabz? What was it? What's the company called? I can't think what it's called.
Fromsoftware.
Fromsoftware, that's it. There's
makers
talk
of
that
Bloodborne and the recent Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
there's talk that they're looking at an open world Game of Thrones game. So it doesn't take a genius to maybe add 2 and 2 together and get, a different number. What do you think, Tabz?
Well, for starters, we should say, when is he going to write the finish of the books? Because he's just busying himself with everything else. I mean, he's riding the wave, I suppose, isn't he? Just enjoying his fame and the money rolling in, I'm sure. But still, he needs to get that penned, especially as we'll come back to, because of the, well, from our point of view, Rich, severe disappointment of the Series 8.
Yes, series. We'll double back to that.
We will. But yeah, I suppose this rumour itself, I don't know, an open world game could be really exciting.
I guess I thought absolutely Tabz could be a lot of fun. I guess he'd say Breath of the Wild meets Oblivion or Elder Scroll.
What was that Lord of the Rings game where you... Is it Shadow something? It was a Lord of the Rings game where you'd fight enemies and you'd actually develop grudges with the enemies, and there'd be a kind of reactive story as you played the game.
That's exactly what it needs, Yeah. Probably some RPG elements in there as well.
Boring houses.
Yeah. And throw some base building in there, a la RTS, and you've basically got the perfect rounded game.
But let's be honest, if it is from software, fair play, they make good games. I don't know if they make great open world games in the kind of caliber of Breath of the Wild and Red Dead Redemption, so that will be a new endeavour for them, and especially the dramatic elements that Game of Thrones series demands. Again, this is a bolt onto our E3 predictions video because I think there's also a slight hint that there could be a reveal at E3. So any more on that, Rich, before we move the video onwards?
I don't think so. I think this is an exciting project, certainly if it's got a good story to boot with an open world, because I guess that's one thing that has not really been done well. We've had great open world games, the likes of Breath of the Wild. We've had great story open world games with the likes of, say, Red Dead Redemption. Brilliant story, but the open world is a great technical achievement, but it doesn't have that same brilliance that, say, the Breath of the Wild does. But no one's really done both of those two things together well, I don't think. Certainly not at the moment.
To be honest, mate, I just can't think, unless this has had a run-up of about 3 or 4 years, is it likely they're going to, strike gold and capture lightning in a bottle? Especially with a kind of a film/TV series to game adaptation. Which has a terrible track record of, converting to a quality game. But,
has there been any decent There's quite a lot of good.
GoldenEye.
Yeah, GoldenEye. Yeah, that's probably the only one, isn't it?
And it seems there's going to be a trend. I mean, we're going off on a tangent here, but of games going to films with Sony's announcement.
That seems to be the way now. But anyway, we're way off on a tangent here. But
yeah, well, we're turning this into a school session, aren't we?
We'll await news on that in bated breath. I think we're like 2 weeks out from, maybe 3 weeks out from E3.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Interesting.
It's a nice bit of industry gossip though, and importantly, smooth segue. Rich and I are massive fans, or probably were massive fans of the TV series Game of Thrones, and this also gives us a little bit of a platform to kind of share what our feelings were in regards to, the finale of the Series 8. So first of all, what should we do a spoiler warning, Rich?
I was literally just going to do that, mate. I was just going to say, if you haven't seen it, the ending of season 8 of Game of Thrones, or the ending to Game of Thrones in its entirety, then tune out now, because we're about to discuss certainly what happened in the last episode, possibly in the whole of the season. So, yeah, spoiler warning. There's maybe spoilers ahead.
And you can't see this, Rich, but just so the viewers can see, I'm dressed for the occasion. I have a glass of wine, which is in like this awesome carved kind of Game of Thrones-esque mug, which is awesome. I've also got socks on, but I won't show the viewers my mangy feet. They would not want to see that. So go on, Rich. What were your thoughts? How did it make you feel?
Well, I'm going to sum it up in 3 words, and the 3 words I'm going to choose are disappointing, anticlimactic, and unfinished.
Oh, can I do 3 words as well?
Go on then.
Mine is headless. I'm going to join you on anticlimactic, and I'm going to finish with train wreck.
Oof, that
probably
is
a bit strong, that one, but
I think a number of things. Firstly, for the final episode of the Game of Thrones in its entirety, it was a really slow episode. Like, I get that it's not going to be a full-on action piece because they've got to tie stories up, but there was bits where it was just boring dialogue, and I don't think there's ever been a Game of Thrones where the dialogue's been boring. Whenever there's been like lots of dialogue going on, what people are saying has always been like really interesting or inspiring or
very underplayed, wasn't it?
Inflaming or whatever. And it was just like, oh yeah, well, we could do this. It just felt like, I don't know, wrong.
It
like
did.
They were doing
that was
something wrong.
It felt off. It felt off, didn't it? To the point where I said to a work colleague, actually, I said, if that had leaked before it was actually launched, I would have said, this is a spoof. This is a fake. They're playing with us. Because I wouldn't have believed.
Yeah.
It just feels, like you say, wrong.
And I think there was, like, for instance, when Jon, spoiler warning, killed Daenerys, it was like they may as well have had a title on the screen saying Jon's about to kill Daenerys. It was so obvious what was going to happen. And then from that point, so it was quite building up to that point. And once we got to that point, and after the Iron Throne was destroyed, the rest of the episode was just nothing.
It had lost all of its sizzle at that point, hadn't it? Tension gone. When you come into an end of an epic series like Game of Thrones, that when you think about it has spanned years, chunks of people's lives we've followed this for. You've been following characters. You need certain characters to have a payoff and, like we point out, a climax to their story. And it just, as you say, it was completely anticlimactic. There was not a payoff or much involvement for multiple characters. And yes, they tied up the loose ends just about, but in a really dissatisfying, distasteful way. I mean, I think the series is that they like to be unpredictable, don't they, in Game of Thrones? They like to, kill people off, keep you guessing. And it's almost like they're just, because they didn't want to give us the happy ending of King Jon, they've just tried to subvert all our expectations, but it's just backfired, I think.
I think the thing is, you look at all the characters that died. So the Hound and the Mountain died together in fire. It was almost like the right way that they died, you know, and that finished their story in like a crescendo of
blazing
well,
glory.
It was exactly that.
I'm not so fussed about that. It's just the other characters. Bran, you know, we needed a payoff. Arya, she had the payoff with the Night King, I suppose, but
that's the other thing. So she kills the Night King, and at this point you're thinking she's the greatest assassin the world's ever seen, and then she literally does nothing else for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
She
promise there as well with this faceless ability she has.
Exactly. She basically escapes death after she basically gives up on killing Cersei, and the horse turns up out of nowhere, which was odd, and that was not explained either.
No, people were hoping it might be Bran, didn't they? Walking into it or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that was odd. So, but from that point, her character didn't do anything. Now, I thought she had quite a nice ending. So all that death and conspiring that she's done, and then she's actually just becoming an explorer.
It made me think of Lord of the Rings, mate. You know, at the end when the elves and Frodo and they sail off, don't they, into the distance.
That was the only character's ending that I thought, you know what, that's cool. But yeah.
Didn't you think there was some misplaced humour as well? I mean, we'll wrap this up soon, but there was some strange moments of humour. So the kind of the Mickey take of democracy when they were all gathered around.
I know,
that was a bit like, what are you doing? You just cheapening this whole episode with And then with Tyrion with the chairs, I mean, I suppose it was kind of supposed to be in the epilogue almost and a bit more light-hearted, better place for humour, but it still felt a bit. And then to bring the book to him and say, "Oh, you're not in it, mate. They don't mention you." I mean, what?
Oh, it's odd, isn't it? And then the ultimate wrongness for me was that the absolute most loyal, just, right person in the entirety of all 8 seasons, as far as I'm concerned, wrong.
The moral backbone of the entire.
Was then like baby in the corner, right, off you go to Castle Black, and it was like, what is going on?
Yeah, he played someone who was a bit snivelling and love-struck, overcame that, but then didn't get any reward for that morality.
And then his second great love, which was a bit wrong because it was his auntie, he has to kill her to do the right thing, and for that he gets shunned. I just could. I'm not saying I wanted him to be on the throne, but that seemed so odd.
Unjust, as you say. Leaves a really bad taste in the mouth. Well, can I share with you?
Go on then.
I mean, you know already. I've given you the plot points, but I've got an alternative ending that I got quite excited about. And again,
come on then. Let's finish this video with an alternative plot ending.
Right. Okay then. So I'm going to just say this needs work. It's not the finished product. It's not the perfect balance. But we can take certain things. So for starters, right, I thought it would have been really cool when Tyrion's in prison, Arya facelessly goes down to where he is as Grey Worm and busts him out. Already cool. Already a bit kind of gives a better texture. And
although
then
she'd have had to kill Grey Worm to do that.
That's fine. I'm not particularly Grey Worm. He seemed pretty ruthless by the end of it.
I know, yeah.
The confrontation between Jon and Dany still takes place. So, you know, it's still quite heated, loving conflict of emotions, but he's, you know, they're having it out. They aren't happy with each other. And then still, Drogon senses this discord between the Targaryens and flies in like he does. Amidst it, he burns the throne down, again displaying this intelligence, which is like, you know, him saying, stop fighting about this blooming, you know, power. Just put your differences to one side. That's his little gesture. So that happens. But then Dany, obviously we know he's gone off the keel a bit. She's still in the heat of the moment. She ushers in a Dracarys moment and wants to burn Jon into cinder. So at this point, it's about to happen. We think Jon's gone, but then Arya creeps in. I mean, I don't know how this takes place, but basically she goes to kill Daenerys, which delays Drogon from killing Jon. Jon manages to thwart her last minute, so another turn, because he still loves Daenerys and he doesn't want her to die. So again, you've gone back and forth here, drama, climax. Then you think, okay, power's back to Dany. So she orders another Dracarys on Jon and now Arya. So you're thinking, oh no, the heroes are going to die. And then last minute, and this is the real kicker, this is the real boom moment, Bran Stark walks into Drogon and basically burns Dany instead, sparing Jon and Arya. Just cool as.
Yeah.
And the other little tale of this that I thought would be really cool is that, in fact, because of this war and because Drogon's a dragon, big mystical creature, Bran actually leaves his body and becomes permanently fused with Drogon. So it's like a Drogon / Bran, and therefore becomes Jon's dragon. It's like a dragon hand to the king. Which would be really cool. That would be really climactic and dramatic. What do you reckon?
Yeah, wow. Oh, absolutely, mate. Blimey. You'd be up and down off your sofa, wouldn't you, watching that?
Yeah, it might be a bit too much, so you might need some tweaking, but you'd prefer to watch that episode, wouldn't you, Rich, than the one we just saw?
Yeah, I think it's hard as well. That's 8 seasons and they're all like, 10 episodes at least. I know these last few seasons haven't been, but it's like, you've invested such a lot of time for such a massive disappointment.
No, it just feels very unrewarding.
Such is life.
I don't agree with the people that say, let's petition for a rewrite. It's done.
Yeah,
it's done
exactly.
Now.
Yeah,
you can't just do that with every film you don't like the ending of.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just going to be forever a disappointment. But
we hold out hope that George R. Martin will finish the books and perhaps put his own spin on the ending, which is somewhat different.
Yeah.
And then who knows, in the very distant future, they remake. Let's do a Lord of the Rings style trilogy of films, Game of Thrones style.
Nice.
What's more to say? Well, if you like the video, please give us a like. If you didn't, a dislike.
Feedback's always welcome.
And if you want to see more from Rich and I and our meaningless rants, then please subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. We've also got a new feature. We're going to put a little logo up of the channel here. Click here, which might be an easy way for you to subscribe. And it looks kind of cool as well. And I think that's about it. Another one for the archives.
Stamped and completed.